The silence in the United Nations Emergency Command Center was deafening. June Park stared at the massive holographic display, his dark eyes reflecting the flickering red alerts that pulsed across global communication networks. Outside the reinforced windows, the first rays of dawn crept over New York City, completely unaware of the impending catastrophe. The alien transmission had arrived precisely at 03:17 GMT, cutting through every communication channel with crystal clarity. No static, no interference, just a cold, calculated message that sent chills down the spines of every human listening. Inhabitants of Earth, the alien communication began, its voice neither masculine nor feminine, but a precise technological articulation. Your civilization has been evaluated. You have 24 hours to surrender unconditionally. June's fingers moved across the holographic interface, pulling up multiple data streams. The Kral Empire's technological signatures were unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. Their massive battleships, each larger than entire terrestrial cities, hung in Earth's orbit, casting enormous shadows that could be seen from multiple continents. Elena Rodriguez, the quantum physics specialist standing next to June, whispered, "They're not bluffing." Her hands were trembling slightly, betraying her otherwise professional demeanor. The global leadership was in complete disarray. Emergency meetings were happening simultaneously across every continent. Military commanders looked defeated. Politicians argued endlessly, and scientists struggled to comprehend the technological gap between human capabilities and the alien invasion force. What made the Kral Empire particularly terrifying was their documented history. They had conquered 17 planetary civilizations in the past 2 centuries, leaving nothing but ash and technological remnants. Their approach was always the same: a precise, calculated ultimatum followed by absolute destruction. June understood something the panicking leadership did not. Beneath the apparent hopelessness, there was a chance, a slim, almost invisible opportunity that required extraordinary thinking. "We need to make them believe we're completely helpless," he muttered to David Kim, the advanced technologies lead who was analyzing the alien communication patterns. David nodded, understanding the subtle strategy. Appearing weak was sometimes the most powerful defensive position. The global media was in complete chaos. Social media platforms were exploding with a mixture of terror, resignation, and bizarre human humor. Memes about alien invasions mixed with genuine panic reports. Millions of people were streaming out of major cities while others chose to stay, believing resistance was futile. Economic markets had crashed within minutes of the transmission. Stock exchanges worldwide showed nothing but red indicators. The global financial system was collapsing faster than anyone could have predicted. Military installations around the world were on maximum alert. Conventional weapons seemed pathetic compared to the technological might of the Kral Empire. Fighter jets, nuclear submarines, and advanced missile systems looked like children's toys against the massive alien battleships. June reviewed the initial data streams. The Kral's technological capabilities suggested they could neutralize any human defensive strategy within moments. Their energy weapons could vaporize entire military bases. Their communication systems could jam every possible human frequency. Yet something in June's strategic mind was calculating, planning. The aliens might have superior technology, but they didn't understand the most unpredictable element: human creativity. "They want us to panic," June said quietly to Elena and David. "And panic is exactly what we'll give them." The 24-hour countdown had begun. Humanity stood at the precipice of potential extinction, with nothing but a seemingly impossible chance of survival. Little did the Kral Empire know that beneath the apparent weakness, a storm was brewing. A human response that would challenge everything they understood about resistance, survival, and the true meaning of technological superiority. The first hour of the ultimatum ticked away, silent and heavy with anticipation. Elena Rodriguez moved between quantum computational clusters, her fingers dancing across multiple holographic interfaces. The facility, hidden beneath an abandoned industrial complex in the Brazilian countryside, was humanity's last strategic hope. David Kim watched her work, understanding that their preparation needed to be both subtle and revolutionary. The Krull Empire's technological superiority was obvious, but human unpredictability could become their greatest weapon. "We're not building a defense," David muttered. "We're creating a psychological trap." Their team consisted of 37 of the world's most brilliant minds, scientists, mathematicians, strategic experts, and technological innovators who had been quietly recruited over the past decade. Each member understood the stakes were beyond traditional warfare. Elena's quantum entanglement algorithms were particularly fascinating. She had developed a method to create localized temporal disruption fields that could potentially confuse advanced alien tracking systems. It wasn't about stopping the invasion. It was about making the invasion fundamentally uncertain. Nanotechnological networks were being distributed through seemingly innocent global infrastructure. Water systems, communication towers, electrical grids, each became a potential point of strategic manipulation. The technology was so subtle that even if the Krull scanned Earth, they would see nothing more than standard planetary infrastructure. 17 minutes until first potential interaction, a young researcher named Hero announced, monitoring global satellite feeds. The room buzzed with controlled tension. Nobody spoke about fear. Their preparation was methodical, precise, and calculated. David's team had developed a unique psychological warfare algorithm. By analyzing decades of alien communication patterns from previous conquests, they had identified potential psychological vulnerabilities in the Krull's collective decision-making processes. Their technological superiority makes them overconfident, David explained to Elena. They see predictability as strength. We'll give them predictability, but not the kind they expect. Underground servers were generating millions of potential scenarios, each designed to create maximum confusion in alien tactical systems. Simple mathematical models were being transformed into complex psychological manipulation tools. June Park's strategic vision guided their entire operation. He understood that humanity's survival didn't depend on matching alien technology, but on fundamentally changing the rules of engagement. Communication networks were being prepared for a massive, coordinated response. Not a military response, but an information response designed to create maximum psychological disruption. The nanotechnological network was particularly ingenious. Microscopic machines would be distributed globally, capable of subtle electromagnetic manipulations. They weren't weapons. They were more like invisible, adaptive communication nodes that could potentially create massive systemic confusions. "We're not preparing to fight," Elena said quietly. "We're preparing to make them question everything they understand about conquest." Hero continued monitoring global systems. Temperature maps, communication patterns, electromagnetic signatures, everything was being analyzed and prepared for potential manipulation. Outside the facility, the world continued its panicked preparation. Cities were being evacuated, military installations were on maximum alert, and global leadership was preparing surrender documents. But here, in this underground facility, a different kind of preparation was happening. A preparation based on human creativity, psychological understanding, and the ability to transform seemingly impossible scenarios. The first wave of nanotechnological networks was about to be activated. Distributed silently through global infrastructure, they would become humanity's invisible first line of defense. 17 minutes remained until potential alien interaction. 37 of the world's most brilliant minds worked with a calm, calculated intensity that would have surprised the incoming alien invasion force. They weren't just preparing a defense. They were preparing a lesson, a timeless demonstration of human potential that would challenge everything the Krull Empire understood about planetary conquest. The countdown continued, silent and pregnant with potential. Krull invasion protocols were systematic and cold. They had conquered 17 planetary civilizations before, and Earth would be their 18th. Their commander, a disciplined entity named Vork, watched Earth's surface with calculated precision. Military installations across the globe were the first targets. Advanced energy weapons vaporized defense systems faster than human eyes could comprehend. Entire military bases disappeared in microseconds. No explosions, just instant disintegration. The underground facility. June Park watched the invasion unfold through multiple holographic displays. His team remained unnaturally calm, as if they were watching a calculated simulation rather than a real invasion. They're following exact invasion protocols, David whispered, analyzing the attack patterns. Predictable, systematic. The alien weapons were beyond human technological understanding. Electromagnetic pulses disabled communication networks. Advanced, scanning technologies penetrated every possible defensive layer. Conventional human weapons looked like children's toys against their massive technological superiority. Major cities began evacuation procedures. Millions of people moved like frightened, ant colonies desperately seeking safety. Highways became massive streams of vehicles, all moving away from potential attack zones. Vork's primary strategy was complete planetary submission through overwhelming technological demonstration. Each battleship released smaller invasion units that scanned and analyzed human infrastructure with cold mechanical precision. "They want us to feel hopeless," Elena muttered, her fingers moving across quantum calculation interfaces. Total psychological submission before physical conquest. The invasion proceeded in perfect geometric patterns. Northern Hemisphere installations were neutralized first, followed by strategic military locations in Asia and Europe. Each movement was calculated, each destruction precise and emotionless. Satellite communication networks collapsed within minutes. Global positioning systems became useless. Financial systems stopped functioning. The entire human technological infrastructure seemed to crumble under alien technological superiority. June understood something critical. The Crawl believed their victory was already complete. Their invasion wasn't about fighting. It was about demonstrating absolute technological dominance. Military commanders worldwide watched in helpless terror. Conventional defense strategies seemed ridiculous against such overwhelming technological power. Tanks, fighter jets, naval battleships, all looked like primitive artifacts against alien technological might. The first wave of invasion lasted exactly 17 minutes. By the time sunlight broke through the alien-created darkness, massive sections of human infrastructure had been systematically neutralized. Vork's communication transmitted a simple message to remaining human communication channels. Surrender is your only rational option. But beneath this apparent total destruction, something was brewing. The nanotechnological networks developed by Elena and David began their subtle, almost invisible activation. No human watching would have noticed anything different. No alien scanning technology would have detected the microscopic preparations. But something was changing. Slowly, systematically, and completely unpredictably. In the underground facility, June allowed himself a slight smile. The Crawl believed they were witnessing human defeat. In reality, they were walking into a carefully prepared psychological trap. "They think they're winning," David said quietly. "They have no idea what's coming." The invasion continued, systematic and cold. Massive alien battleships moved across Earth's surface, casting enormous shadows. Entire human defense systems collapsed in microseconds. But beneath this apparent total destruction, something unexpected was preparing to emerge. A response that would challenge everything the Crawl understood about planetary conquest. The first phase of invasion was complete. The second phase, the truly interesting part, was about to begin, and the Crawl had no idea what was coming. June Park's fingers touched the quantum disruption protocol. Temporal fields started flickering across battle zones, creating pockets of altered reality that defied conventional physical laws. Commander Vork's first indication that something was wrong came through a minor communication glitch. A battleship's navigation system momentarily showed impossible coordinate shifts. Then another. Then another. Elena Rodriguez had designed the disruption to be psychological as much as technological. The nano networks weren't attacking. They were confusing. They were creating doubt. Alien communication systems began experiencing inexplicable malfunctions. Data streams twisted. Information packets became unreliable. What had been perfect technological precision suddenly felt uncertain. The human strategy was brilliant in its simplicity. They weren't fighting the Krall's technology. They were making the Krall question their own technology. Massive alien battleships started experiencing strange temporal anomalies. Navigation systems showed conflicting information. Scanning technologies detected impossible environmental readings. Communication channels became unpredictable streams of fragmented data. Vork watched in growing confusion as invasion protocols began to break down. Invasion units started moving in mathematically impossible patterns. Weapon systems reported targets that didn't exist. Communication networks became a maze of contradictory information. "This is impossible," Vork communicated to Invasion Command. But even that transmission felt strange, delayed, twisted, uncertain. The nanotechnological network was creating a psychological battlefield. Each alien system was being subtly manipulated, not destroyed. The goal wasn't elimination. It was confusion. David Kim's psychological warfare algorithms began their most complex stage. The nanonetwork started generating impossible scenarios, creating localized reality disruptions that challenged everything the Krall understood about technological control. Entire alien battleship sections began experiencing time differently. In one location, systems would move milliseconds slower, in another, faster. Communication became a nightmare of temporal inconsistency. Human cities that appeared completely destroyed suddenly showed impossible resilience. Scanning technologies detected human activity in locations that should have been obliterated. Military installations that were supposedly neutralized showed strange, unpredictable resistance. The Krall's technological superiority became their greatest weakness. Their entire invasion strategy depended on predictability, on systematic conquest. But humans had introduced an element of fundamental uncertainty. June watched the global systems, a slight smile developing. They weren't fighting. They were teaching a lesson about the nature of technological understanding. Alien invasion units started making mistakes. Complex mathematical invasion protocols became unreliable. What had been a perfect, systematic conquest was becoming a confused, challenging operation. The nanonetworks weren't just manipulating technology, they were creating a psychological battlefield. Each alien system was being made to question its own fundamental operational parameters. Commander Vork's confidence began to crack. For the first time in the Krall Empire's conquest history, an invaded civilization was doing something unexpected. They weren't resisting, they were fundamentally challenging the entire concept of invasion. Communication between alien battleships became increasingly difficult. Temporal disruption fields created zones where technology simply didn't function according to expected parameters. "We are experiencing systematic anomalies," Vork communicated to Invasion Command. But even that transmission felt wrong. Delayed, twisted, uncertain. The human counterattack wasn't about destruction. It was about demonstrating the most powerful human characteristic: adaptive, creative thinking. Massive alien battleships that had seemed invincible now looked uncertain. Invasion. Protocols that had worked perfectly in 17 previous planetary conquests were suddenly becoming unreliable. June, Elena, and David watched the global systems, understanding that they were writing a new chapter in human resistance. Not through force, but through fundamental reimagination of technological engagement. The unexpected counterattack was working. And the Krall Empire was about to learn a timeless lesson about the true nature of human potential. Commander Vork watched in total disbelief as invasion protocols completely disintegrated. Battleships that had conquered 17 civilizations were now drifting uncertainly, their advanced systems experiencing total computational breakdown. June Park's team had done something unprecedented. They hadn't destroyed the alien technology. They had fundamentally challenged its entire operational understanding. The nanotechnological networks had created something beyond simple resistance. They had introduced a concept that the Krall Empire had never encountered: adaptive, creative uncertainty. Alien communication channels became a maze of contradictory information. Invasion units started reporting impossible scenarios. Navigation systems showed locations that defied mathematical logic. Weapon technologies became unreliable. Targeting systems collapsed. "This is impossible," Vork transmitted repeatedly. But each transmission felt more desperate, more uncertain. Global human populations who had been preparing for total destruction started witnessing something extraordinary. The alien invasion was falling apart from within, not through external force, but through intelligent, strategic manipulation. Elena Rodriguez's quantum disruption algorithms had created localized reality zones where technological predictability simply stopped functioning. Alien systems were experiencing time differently in different locations, some milliseconds slower, some faster, creating total operational confusion. David Kim watched the global systems, understanding they were demonstrating a fundamental lesson about technological engagement. Humans weren't just resisting, they were reimagining the entire concept of technological warfare. The Kral Empire's 17 previous planetary conquests had followed exact, systematic invasion protocols. They had never encountered a civilization that could transform technological limitations into strategic advantages. Massive battleships started making unexplained course corrections. Invasion units began moving in mathematically impossible patterns. Communication networks became unreliable streams of fragmented, contradictory data. June understood they were writing a new chapter in human resistance, not through traditional, military strength, but through intelligent, adaptive thinking. The nano-networks had created a psychological battlefield where technology itself became uncertain. Each alien system was made to question its fundamental operational parameters. Entire alien technological infrastructure began experiencing strange temporal anomalies. Scanning technologies detected impossible environmental readings. Weapon systems reported targets that didn't exist. Human cities that had appeared completely destroyed suddenly showed unexpected resilience. Military installations that were supposedly neutralized demonstrated strange, unpredictable resistance. Commander Vork's confidence shattered completely. For the first time in the Kral Empire's conquest history, an invaded civilization was doing something fundamentally unexpected. The counterattack wasn't about destruction. It was about demonstrating the most powerful human characteristic: creative, adaptive intelligence. Global communication networks, which had been destroyed, started showing strange, unexpected recovery patterns. Technological systems that should have been obliterated were showing impossible regeneration. The Kral invasion was collapsing not through external force, but through internal computational confusion. Each alien system was being made to question its own fundamental operational. Understanding massive battleships that had seemed invincible now looked vulnerable. Invasion protocols that had worked perfectly in 17 previous conquests were becoming totally unreliable. "Retreat," Vork finally transmitted. But even that communication felt uncertain, delayed, fragmented. The alien retreat was not a traditional withdrawal. It was a computational collapse, a total systems failure caused by something they could not comprehend: human creativity. June, Elena, and David watched global systems, understanding they had done more than resist an invasion. They had taught a timeless lesson about the true nature of technological potential. As alien battleships slowly drifted away, human populations began to understand something critical. Their greatest strength was not technological power, but the ability to think beyond expected parameters. The Kral Empire had come to conquer. They left having learned the most important lesson: humanity's true power lies not in technological superiority, but in creative, adaptive intelligence. A new chapter in human understanding had been written, and the universe would never be the same again.